So hi all. When I was invited to be a storyteller today, I thought to myself, where do I even start? I'm a recent Hope grad, and this first year out feels like freshman year all over again, except everyone else is a senior. So in a way, I feel like I fail every day. To give you a little background of myself, my parents work in the Foreign Service for the government of Mexico, so they represent Mexico wherever we're stationed. My sister and I, we were raised to be very proud of our culture, our language, our heritage, and it's what brought us to the United States. I remember my first year here so vividly. I traded all of my Pokemon cards during recess, even though I knew zero English. I have no idea how that happened. During lunch, you could have pizza and fruit roll-ups and ice cream during lunch all at once. I loved America. And as parents do in the wealthy, predominantly white suburbs that we lived in, I was signed up for Girl Scouts, soccer, ballet, gymnastics, the works. It was the whole package that I was privileged enough to be living in. And although we were living in Austin, Texas at the time, a city with a strong Latino population, I was just one of a handful of students that weren't white at my school. But it didn't seem to bother me. It wasn't until this difference became ostracizing later on. I remember when I got the guts to tell Roy Schwartz he was cute in 6th grade. Hey, you're really cute. To which he turned bright red as I turned bright red. Awkwardly normal, right? But then I remember his friend next to him laughing and saying, yeah, well, you should hear all the colorful things he has to say about you. I didn't say anything. I walked away. I remember swinging in the monkey bars with my bright yellow shoes, and Haley Hott coming up to me just to tell me my shoes were the ugliest thing she's ever seen. It was like I could never get it right. I don't know when that moment happens, when kids begin to lose their innocence and can start being cruel. And that feeling of embarrassment, it's alienating. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. I had my friends on one side who are tall, blonde, blue-eyed. Sometimes talking about race is hard enough in college. Imagine then. How would I even start? And on the other, I had my parents who are total rock stars. They are like confident and respected and carry themselves with grace. I didn't want to let them down. 12 years ago, there was this young girl who was so self-aware of what made her different, conflicted between a strong sense of security and pride in who she is and her background, but also wanting to be like everybody else, wanting to be okay. Because in her mind, if she was just like everybody else, she wouldn't be encountering these sort of topics. It was like any time that I got too comfortable, I was reminded that I did not fit in. My body felt too thick, my hair unruly, my skin too brown. Fast forward to my sophomore year of high school, and I was living in Birmingham, Michigan, and still playing soccer. This time, it wasn't a 12-year-old boy, but a 60-year-old man, my soccer coach. At this point, I'd been playing soccer for about 10 years now, even though, don't let the amount of years fool you, I was never really that great. But I loved it. The environment, the teammates, my schedule being separated by home and away games with pasta parties and hangouts with the team in between, and probably more orange slices than I'll ever eat ever again. But, it was amazing. I loved it. And I remember it was an away game in April. I remember the exact date, actually. And I was going to get to start at halftime, which, okay, just on a side note, it's a really big deal for me. Like, I was so pumped, super jittery, like, so excited. But I had to go to the bathroom, obviously. I'm nervous. So I tell the coach, hey, coach, just running to the bathroom. I'll be right back. He gives a nod. Totally normal, right? As I'm running towards the athletic bathrooms, a yell stops me. Where do you think you're going, Sanchez? The bathroom, coach. I answer back, so confused, but like not thinking anything of it. The bathrooms are that way. He points to the porta potties on the far side of the soccer field. The porta potties, coach? Still not getting it. Yeah, you're Mexican. You should be used to it, he answers. I'm not okay with that, I muster. I repeat that over and over again because that's all I can do. And he answers back with, does it look like I give a fuck about what you think? My world, it came down. I was raised to be this confident individual, and part of that has been always being proud of my Mexican identity. I let him take that pride away, distort it into something shameful and dirty. That's my failure. I let a person just take this part, this core aspect of what makes me, me. Second, that I stayed silent. The next couple of days were a blur. My parents had meetings with administration to make sure that he wasn't able to work with high school students anymore. People knew what happened. My teammates saw. But administration didn't respond the way I thought they would. He was taken out of the job coaching, but he was still allowed to stay. He was still part of administration. A place that was supposed to be my safe zone was shattered. And I felt like all hell broke loose. My home was egged, teepeed, ding-dong ditched. A guy I considered a friend cornered me during math class only to ask me how it felt taking a poor man out of a job. I stayed silent. Sorry, yeah. I had to leave school early because I couldn't breathe after crossing paths with him in the hallway. These sorts of moments, they happened way too often. And it was crazy too because on one hand, I had peers that didn't say anything, but I could just feel them staring at me the whole time. I heard like, oh my gosh, did you hear she's suing him? Oh my gosh, like blah, blah, blah. It was just crazy. And then on the other, I had friends that told me, it's not a big deal unless you make it a big deal. Regina, worse things happen to the boys team all the time. You need to forget about it. And that feeling was just so alienating. I started blaming myself for all of it. And all I wanted was for this mess to disappear, to be normal, to pretend it didn't happen. My dad, this is what he does for a living. He stands up against these types of cultural prejudices, and here I was, his own daughter, and all I wanted was for this mess to go away. So I begged him to please just stop. Don't push it any further. I just want to pretend like nothing happened. And I had no excuse for that. I had all the love and support from my family to do what I knew in my heart and soul was right. But I didn't push it any further. Stayed. It's like my coach was staring into my younger soul, saying, give it up, Regina. You don't have your shit together. You're still the fat brown girl you felt like earlier on. I stayed silent. 2 years later, I saw as an African American student was pinpointed as the scapegoat to my high school's racial problems. I saw as another classmate was being ostracized the same way I was. I stayed silent.